Hey, it's Dan. Welcome back. You're watching iAllegedly. And I've got a good one for you today. And you're probably wondering, why am I in a law firm right now? Well, there was a case that's gotten national news. And long story short, it was a case, personal injury case, where these two daughters had lost their father, and they sued the doctor for medical malpractice. And the case took a complete different turn, and we're going to cover it today. Please do not forget to hit the like button. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. But listen to this, okay? The case goes to trial with this firm, okay? Ledezma, Robles and Babaee, and they're not victorious. They lost the case. The firm lost the case. We'll flash forward about 3 weeks after the trial, and a video surfaces where the defendant's attorney was basically boasting about how their client may have been guilty and how they put forth false evidence, and that the death certificate that said that this guy died of a certain thing may have been right. And this guy put forth this evidence and was boasting about this. You have to see this video. Take a look at this.
Which was pretty good, because this was a jury trial, as was Truman. This was our second jury trial, just finished it last month. A guy that was probably negligently killed, but we kind of made it look like other people did it. And we actually had a death certificate that said he died the very way the plaintiff said he died, and we had to say, no, you really shouldn't believe what that death certificate says, or the coroner from the Orange County Coroner's Office who says it says what it says and that it's right. Overcoming all of those hurdles, we managed to sock 3 lawyers in the face, and it was the fastest defense verdict Esther's ever gotten, and it's the fastest defense verdict I've ever gotten, and it was a 12-0 defense verdict in 26 minutes. So here, Esther, go ahead and ring the bell.
Okay, now you may have seen this case already, but the thing that was crazy about this was the attorney, the lead attorney in this case, is somebody that I knew. And I heard Jorge on the news talking about this case, and I was blown away. And I reached out to him and said, this is unbelievable that this guy did this and was boasted like this. You know, and you're absolutely right. This is why people hate lawyers, is because they lie and they do things like this. And, you know, I was wondering, you know, can this guy be sanctioned by the state bar? Is there anything that's going to happen to this guy? And, you know, can you get a new trial? I mean, what happens at this point? So flash forward, they filed a motion for new trial. And for the lawyers that are in my audience, you guys know that that is a you know, daunting task, and that most new trials don't get granted. Well, this last week, this firm was granted a new trial in this case, and I got to interview the lawyers, and I want you guys to see this, because I think they're a great group of people, but I really think that you know, justice wasn't served in this case. And one thing that we're all about here at iAllegedly is to get the facts for the economy and everything else. And because, you know, I know this lawyer, I was like, I'm going to call him and see if I can go in there and sit down with them. And we got lucky enough to talk to Jorge and his team. So take a look at this. So this case got a lot of news coverage. I heard about it on local radio. I heard about it out of the LA Times, on Fox News, a little bit of everywhere. And then I realized that the attorney involved was somebody that I knew, Jorge Ledezma. And I've known Jorge, gosh, over 10 years now. And he's a brilliant trial attorney. And this case just broke my heart. You know, Mr. Sanchez, you know, came here. He was a reporter in another country, came here, built a life here, had kids, and you know, it's a tragic story. And just want you to elaborate on it a little bit more.
Yes, so I met Dan and Lisa, his girlfriend, about 10 years ago. And the story behind that is that when I was studying for the bar, I ran across Lisa's bar predictions. And I took a leap of faith and decided to go with her predictions, and I focused my studies on her predictions. And next thing you know, she was right. She was 100% correct. And thanks to that, I passed the bar, and that was in 2011. Then a couple of years later, I met Lisa in person when I started on my law office. And by that time, Lisa was dating Dan, and then we became friends. And now here we are 10 years later.
Okay. So with this case, with Mr. Sanchez, and when he went into the hospital, he was suffering from pancreatitis and needed to have a procedure. Is that correct?
That's correct. But let me get a little bit into the background of the family, or how I got the case. Joanna Garcia was only 22 and Catherine was 17 when they lost their dad. And they came to me in early 2019 and they told me that they were depressed and they were almost out of hope because they had spoken to 4 other lawyers who had turned down the case. And it wasn't because the case had no merit. The case was turned down because this is what we call a MICRA cap case. MICRA is a law in California that limits the amount of damages that plaintiffs in medical malpractice cases can get.
Yeah, and that's $250,000.
$250,000. So if you die in California as a result of medical malpractice, the most your family can get is $250,000. So even though cases have merit, a lot of lawyers don't take them because that is not enough. It costs approximately $100,000 to take a case to trial. And there's no guarantee that you're going to get that money back. So these poor girls have been turned down by other law firms because this is a case where the recovery is limited by law. They came to me and I almost turned the case down, except Joanna told me the story. She told me that her dad was her best friend.
It was very touching, which is what got me involved. When you and I talked about this, this really broke my heart. It really did.
Yes, she told me that she lost her best friend, her dad. He was her confidant. She told me that even though he'd been dead for about a year, she could not let go of his personal things, his clothes, and all his belongings. She had put him in a storage facility, and she would go every weekend and spend time there because she felt like she was spending time with her dad. And she would touch his shirts and his clothes, and she would smell them. And she felt close to him that way. When she told me that, I just could not decline the case.
Yeah,
and so I took it.
That's great.
And then we ended up in a trial earlier this year.
And everybody thinks when you go, hey, I'm going to sue you and we're going to go to trial and I'm serious about this, you've got years to get to by the time you get to trial. And all the depositions and all the discovery and everything that's involved in these cases, if you haven't been involved in it, people really don't know how much effort's involved in that. And you guys spent a tremendous amount of time on this case.
We spent approximately 3 years litigating this case. We took about 30 depositions. The trial lasted from March 16th through April 19th. There was approximately a total of 9 to 10 days of evidence presented, which is a very long time.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Correct.
So flash forward, the case gets sent to the jury and there was a quick verdict that was against you guys. Let's just say that. Now, one thing that surfaced out of this, and that was I was driving down the freeway and one of my subscribers said, you got to see this video. And they sent me the video of an attorney bragging about this case. And I wanted you to elaborate on that because I was floored. The attorney was basically saying that he felt that his client may have been responsible for this and that they put him forth anyways on the witness stand, which is, I know with my girlfriend being a lawyer, you can't do that. And it was appalling with what he did. But he was boasting and bragging about this and about how they had basically, railroaded this case and not given you guys a fair shot. But he knew that he had done that too. So,
right. Well, if I can take you back to the courtroom.
Sure.
During closing argument, the defense counsel told the jury that my clients and I had been extorting the doctor, which is a complete lie. There's no evidence of that. He then said, "Welcome to America. Welcome to the personal injury industrial complex," and told the jury that our case had no merit, that our case had been the most insulting case he had ever seen in his 30-year career. And unfortunately, in conservative Orange County, those comments are pretty effective. And we know that because the jury did not even consider the evidence. They went back, and when the clerk took the exhibits back to them so they could review the evidence and have some meaningful deliberation, they told the clerk, "We don't need them. We're good. Take them back." They already knew what they were going to do.
Wow.
And it was shocking. It was shocking what they did. The judge instructed them, as they always do, instructed the jury to go back and deliberate and do not come out, do not give us a verdict, or do not render your verdict until you have carefully analyzed and deliberated. This jury did not do that.
Wow. Wow. So, but still, where this thing went completely haywire was with that other attorney
Right.
posting.
So, a couple of days after the verdict, I sat down with my clients, and not knowing what was going to happen, I told them, "Don't give up. We're going to appeal. What happened was an injustice. Stay in the fight. Just trust me. Trust me." I said, "Trust me. Things are going to be okay." I had no idea what was going to happen. So a few weeks later, I was still depressed. I was still upset. I could not believe that this jury had done that. And then the video came out. I clearly remember it was Friday night. I was home in my garage. I was playing the guitar like I always do to sort of, decompress and, relax a little bit. And I got a call from a colleague of mine who said, "You have to see this." And it was a video. He showed me the video. And at that moment in time, I was gutted. I could not believe that this guy who had mistreated us, mistreated my clients and their father throughout the trial, he's now dancing on my client's grave, celebrating and ringing victory bells, and at the same time admitting that he had tricked the jury.
Horrific. And it was one of those things that I had to watch it a couple times. And my law professor girlfriend, she said it was unbelievable, and that it was one of the worst things she's ever seen with practicing law. And we can hope that the attorney gets punished. From the layman's term, I hope that this person gets punished for what they did and everybody involved with that. But we've got to move forward, with this. And, this has been an amazing week for you guys, because you guys just found out that you were granted a new trial.
Correct. So, like I said, even before the video came out, we had decided that we were going to file a motion for a new trial, because that closing argument was one of the most despicable closing arguments in the history of mankind. And it was disgusting. Okay. He, like I said before, he told the jury, "Welcome to America. This is a medical malpractice case." What does the word "welcome to America" have to do with it?
You know
Nothing.
what? Tell, just for the audience, Mr. Sanchez's, what happened to him. Just tell him briefly what happened to him during the medical procedure.
Mr. Sanchez was only 49 years old, otherwise healthy. He developed pancreatitis. His mother had died just a couple of weeks before, and he was very depressed, and he'd been drinking, and so he developed pancreatitis, which, for the record, most people survive that. It is not fatal, almost never. Okay, so he goes to South Coast Global Medical Center, and then while he's there, he develops pneumonia. He has to be intubated, and because of the intubation, he could not get nutrition or at least not proper nutrition to get better. Eventually, the pancreatitis resolves and he comes out of the ventilator, but then they decide that the best way for this patient to fully recover is to put a PEG tube in him so he can get full nutrition. So the PEG tube is placed on this patient, and when they place a PEG tube in him, they punctured the colon. So then that resulted in fecal matter leaking into his abdominal area, which then led to sepsis, and he then eventually died at UCI Medical Center.
From sepsis.
From sepsis. Correct.
Wow. And the doctor that was responsible for the procedure, what was his name again?
His name was Dr. Essam Qureshi.
Okay. Wow. So, you know, a real travesty was done. And one thing I want to do is bring the other partners in with the law firm and have them discuss this a little bit, because this has been, you guys, I mean, it's been whirlwind. You guys have been on, you know, again, the LA Times, KFI Radio here in Southern California, which is the largest radio station. You've been on Fox News. You've been on national Fox News. You've been all over the place. And it was.
We've been on Univision.
Spanish
media.
And it's been everywhere. And now you've been on iAllegedly too. So don't forget that. But let's bring the partners in. So Jorge, we're here with your partners, and I want them to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Shireen Babaee.
Hi, my name's Jose Robles.
Okay. And this case, you know, one thing that a lot of people don't realize with lawsuits is they think that you've got one lawyer involved and one lawyer's handling the case. He's writing all the letters, and he's the one dealing with the court. But this is a team effort. When you have a law firm, you know, everybody's involved with the case, especially a case that goes to trial. Am I right with that?
You're correct. Yes.
Okay. So with this case, this was a real team effort, and everybody was involved in that. And I just was hoping you guys could elaborate a little bit more on the case. And I know you guys, you know, no lawyer is going to take a case to trial. They don't think they have a notorious case. But this thing was, I really thought you had a great case. The more I read about it after the fact, but it's crazy as to how this is unfolded. And I just hope that you guys could add a little bit to it and let the audience know.
Sure. Well, no, it's absolutely a team effort. You know, as you just discussed with Jorge, I mean, these things take years, right? I mean, there's numerous depositions. There's so many different aspects to not just the litigation phase, but the trial phase as well. So putting together everything you need. I mean, our exhibits, you know, Shireen, how many exhibits did we have? It was ridiculous.
Yeah, there were, I would say, like 600.
There were 5,000 pages of medical records.
See, with my limited medical knowledge with the conferences and everything that I put on, I was always floored, you know, when you hear about simple procedures and somebody dies. That's the, you know, wrongful death. That's just, it just gets, you know, you hear about these things and they don't happen all the time. And sometimes something like this can be negligence and can be human error, to say the least. But the way that this thing is unfolded, I mean, you guys have to be surprised right now with all the attention and everything you're getting right now.
When we found out that the jury didn't look at the evidence, it blew my mind. In this case, we actually had said that the doctor failed and was negligent 2 different times. First was he actually, Mr. Garcia had 2 different issues within his abdomen that caused the organs to potentially move around. So it requires a gastroenterologist to do additional research and look to make sure that when he places that PEG tube, it goes directly into the stomach.
Wow.
In this case, he didn't do any of that. And everything pointed to him having never even really examined Mr. Garcia before putting in that PEG tube.
Wow.
But the worst part was that after we had noticed that there were complications and 2 different hospital staff members noted that there had been fecal material, he never investigated where that fecal material came from. As a doctor, you would expect them to know that fecal material comes from the colon. So if someone is saying there's fecal material, well, I'm a gastroenterologist. I specialize in the intestines. Fecal material, colon, we might have an issue. But instead, he had other doctors say, hey, is it in the stomach? Is it, you know, and no one ever actually investigated what that fecal material was or where it came from.
Wow. And then, you know, let's go to Judgment Day, guys. You lose, and it's you can't win them all. And I'm not trying to make light of it, but this is really one of those cases that you didn't think you were going to lose, and it was just brushed off in such a way, like you said, the jury didn't even look at the evidence. And then about 3 weeks later, you find out that there's this tape that's circulating, Instagram and TikTok and every place else that I saw it. And by the time I saw it, guys, and by the time my subscriber sent it to me, I'd seen it like a dozen times in all these different formats, and it was awful. And Jorge shared his experience. Were you guys blown away when you saw a lawyer boasting like that they had done that?
I mean, to a certain extent, it didn't surprise me from this guy. I mean, throughout the trial, he had been yelling at the jury. He yelled at Shireen. I mean, Shireen had to put him in his place at one point. I mean, why don't you go ahead and, what did you feel, especially afterwards talking to the jurors as well?
Yeah, so it goes back to Judgment Day. We were getting ready for closing arguments, and we're basically showing Mr. McKenna our closing argument PowerPoint, and he just started going after me, yelling at me, to the point where I had to tell him to relax. And it's funny because the court reporter actually got this on our transcript, and he started yelling at me even more, saying, we're doing closing arguments in a couple of minutes and you're telling me to relax. And so, defense counsel had this sort of aggression towards us throughout the entire trial, which really showed in his closing argument when he said, "Welcome to America. This is the personal injury industrial complex."
Wow. It's horrific when you think about this, I hope, there's got to be justice for these girls. There just has to be. And I hope that there's a place that happens, and someday in court, I hope that they get theirs. But you have to be upset with lawyers doing this, because this is what Mr. Ledezma said. This is what I heard this guy on the radio say. This is why people don't like lawyers. And I'm like, and I'm with my girlfriend. I know that voice, and it was Jorge saying that. And this is exactly why people don't like lawyers, is because of these lies and that they think you guys are all scoundrels.
Right.
And here you're trying to do the right thing in this world, and this is how it came out. And I'm sorry for you guys. I'm sorry for the plaintiffs. I'm sorry for these girls that they had to go through this. But let's hope that there's justice in this, and let's hope that now that you've been granted a new trial, let's hope that things go a lot differently this time. But is there anything you guys would like to close out with, or anything else you'd like to say about this? I hope that the state bar does something with this individual. And I know you guys, lawyers, don't like to talk about things like this, but from the layman looking at this is, again, people need to be punished. If you had an accountant and the accountant lied on somebody's tax return and committed fraud, you punish that person. Lawyers need to be punished for things like this and that behavior. They have to. It's just not fair.
I'd say, in this case, Dr. Qureshi can deal with his attorney however he wants. Our focus is on the girls, right?
Yes.
In other words, to me, the biggest thing I remember from this trial was during closing argument. I was explaining to the jury how Mr. Garcia had been fighting, and I showed them all the medical records of how he was getting better. All of his symptoms were getting better. It wasn't until he got that peg tube that he started to go downhill. So he had been fighting for his daughters, and had it not been for Dr. Qureshi, he'd still be here. Wow. So for us, it's just we have to continue to fight. And again, even though we initially didn't get the verdict we wanted, we still knew that there was hope. So we're still fighting.
These girls are very lucky to have that. They really are. Your whole team, and I've met everybody. You guys are all great. I just think that let's hope that justice gets served, and that the right thing happens with all this. And again, I have a tremendous amount of respect for you guys, because you didn't give up, and you guys fought through this, and as a team, you lose as a team, you win as a team, but when you get taken advantage of, it's great to see people fight and do what's right in this world. So, right. All right.
I love how McKenna said he socked 3 lawyers in the face. Well, here we are. It takes a lot more than that to stop us.
Yeah, good. Well, guys, it was great meeting the lawyers, and something a little different for the channel, but man, I'm telling you, when I saw this, I was just so hurt and so blown away. And then when I saw you involved, I'm like, oh my gosh, I know that guy. And the one thing that you said that stuck out of my head, and I said it when you had your partners up here, and that was that this makes people not trust lawyers. And these girls came to you. This was years of litigation to get to this point, and let's hope that they get some justice, for their father. And I would want my daughter, if she was doing this for me, I would want her to fight to the bitter end if I was wrong in this way. And I know she's in good hands. They're in good hands with you and your team. And I just want to, wish everybody, good luck, and wish the girls good luck. Is there anything you want to say in closing with this? And what's happening next? I mean, when you have a situation like this, what happens? Do you get a whole new trial? I mean, does the trial date start over? Do you have to do all the investigation again? Where's it at?
So discovery reopens, meaning we get to take depositions again, interrogatories, we can subpoena witnesses again. And it's like starting from square one.
Wow.
And then we get a trial date, hopefully sometime either end of the year or beginning of next year. And it will be like starting from fresh.
Wow.
Start.
That's great.
Right.
Okay.
And the only thing I want to say is that we're not going to stop until we get justice for our clients.
Good. So you guys, they're located in Santa Ana, California, and great law firm, great trial firm. And I'm glad they could be on the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Onward and upward, guys. And don't take anything from anybody, okay? Just fight to the end, guys. Okay, I will see you guys very soon.